you so much for all the subscribers who've managed to allow me to reach 1,000 subscribers. It's brilliant. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated, and thanks for all the comments, kind comments, queries, questions. Always happy to engage with viewers. Whilst I'm spraying up the trumpets, the now throwable trumpets, I have managed to fill, by the way, coincidentally, 40 boxes. That's handy. It's not going to get in the way, is it? Ridiculous. Anywho, I've been thinking about this, and what I've done is, because if you remember, I need to use the larger sprockets on the motors, the stepper motors, to make it go faster. But then that's going to change the diameter of the sprockets, obviously. And I've made two of these. It's all a bit cramped at the moment, but I haven't got any flat surfaces anywhere. I've kept the bottom the same, but I've just moved the motor that way by 20mm and up by 5.1mm, which I hope is right. I've got two of them sorted out. I've also, because there's 5mm difference basically, I've cut out two 5mm thick pieces of acrylic for the top two motors. If that makes any sense, you're a better person than I. Right, what else have I been doing? Here, look. This is how I'm going to support the four of the... Oh, I'll show you actually. Now these things, toothless. Well, they've got a lovely bearing on each side, and they take a 3mm shaft. Now that poses a couple of problems, because having a long length of 3mm shaft is not going to be strong enough to support the tension on four of these. So I ended up thinking, shall I build them into these two? They could sort of fit between them and all that. I thought, no, because it's steampunk, you really do need to come up with some different way of doing it that sort of not necessarily looks awkward, but is in its own right some sort of structure. So I thought I'd make it separate, completely separate. So I've got two of these cut out and engraved, and that bit, which these are both going to glue onto at an angle. Isn't that lovely? 10mm, and then I've done the calculations, as I say, and I've drilled a hole through the middle and discovered in the process that my machine device is utter cack. Put that in there, clamped it all up, and found that the drill, if I had drilled it right the way through, would sort of start off on this side here and end up in the middle at the top. It's an absolutely useless piece of rubbish. I did get round, or get as far as thinking, right, I'm going to enjoy myself and spend some time on the internet looking up machine devices to find a better one. And then you just, every single machine device is brilliant, they're all fantastic, and it's just, yeah, soul destroying. In the end, look, my old favourite, the V-block, and just the bed of the pillar drill. Just hold it like that. I'd marked where I wanted the sensor to go and just drilled right the way through. Luckily, I had one of these. In fact, I've got a set of them, really long drill bits, which is very handy on occasion when nothing else is quite long enough. So I've got them done. I should have just started filming sooner actually, never mind. To get this angle on the end, I just clamped a piece of wood. It's so simple. There's always complicated ways that I start thinking, I think, hang on a minute, didn't have to be that accurate. Well, they both need to be the same, so I just did it like that. I need to take the dog for a walk. She's looking at me with those eyes. How can I resist? So I came over to it, rested it on a flat surface, my table, and I found it was all rocky, wobbly, absolutely ridiculous. Like I've said, never going to go to B&Q again for anything. Even their particle board is useless. I mean, there's not that much tension. I thought, well, perhaps I've got tension on these drive belts, but it's bowed all around. I realised I still had a load of lovely MDF, if only I'd used the MDF to start with. Second time lucky, I've had this setting overnight. I glued it last night. I have got a layer of lovely, good quality MDF from a proper woodyard. Nasty layer of cheap ply, but it's going to look okay from B&Q. Hopefully that won't screw it all up. And then other layers and lots of heavy things, all the heavy things I could find, just to keep it hopefully pushed together while it glues. Here's a new work surface, and here are the bits that I've made up, which I've already talked about, and I'm getting completely overwrought with where I am with this video, but never mind. There are those two extra long ones, this extra long bit. Like I say, I was just about getting all excited thinking, right, they're finished, let's get on with that. And then I find that the bases are warped, and I was thinking I could fix battens along the back and flatten it out. Just thought, no, it's not good enough. I can't bear it. Also, because it's warped so much, it's changing the relative position of the fret carriages to the frets. I mean, it's ridiculous. In addition, on a morning when it started with thunder and lightning, I thought it would be prudent to do a towel wash. So I filled the washing machine with towels, broke the washing machine because it banged around. That's another story. I need some new shock absorbers for it. And then hung the towels out, and it hasn't stopped raining since. Lovely. And then, whilst having lunch, sitting in here, I thought I noticed something moving past the window. That's odd. So I opened the back door to find some nasty person who's climbing back over into next door's garden and then over their fence to escape. I accosted him, as you would, and suggested, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Oh, I'm being chased by two people." Right, okay. Luckily our garden is pretty much impregnable, except for that bit, because our neighbour hasn't put trellis at the top. Hence, yet another project, trellis to go at the top. Absolutely ridiculous. So, talk about getting sidetracked. I just want to get on with the banjo playing, the ukulele playing machine. I can't even remember what it's called now. And I keep getting sidetracked, hopefully, because it's going to rain, so I'll do that tomorrow when the forecast is nicer. And finally be able to get on with it. There's a lovely shed of boxes. And then when I went round to the front of the house just to see if I could find out where he was running off to, I discovered that he'd also nicked my number plates because they were stuck on. Apparently it's getting really common now because of automatic number plate recognition all over the place with the cameras. Criminals can't make up their own number plates, so they nick them off other people's cars. That's great. So rather than getting on with the excitingness, I have now got to go and pick up the number plates, the replacement ones that I've ordered, and I stand, because I've reported it obviously to the police and stuff, I now stand also a fair chance, once I've fitted them, of getting stopped by police to see whether I've nicked my own car. Oh, it's just these people, and the cost of that, and the cost of the trellis. Absolute scum, they really are. Just opportunists, hideous. That's better. It doesn't wobble. And both these pieces of wood have been sitting in the extension for ages, so they will have acclimatised, hopefully. Lovely. Now, number plates, new number plates screwed on. Lovely. Finally, I hope to be able to start working on this. First job, trim up the sides, because it was late last night when I did this and I couldn't be bothered to fiddle and faff about. So I'll trim the sides up and then sort out the beading. That went through like a knife through hot butter. I think I've got a new blade for it actually, because that's so sharp. Oh look, can you see that, dear friends? That's beautiful. That's the most beautiful thing I've seen all day, except the dog and my wife and my children and my lovely sandwich I had for lunch. The joy of finally getting on with it. The dog's been walked. Lovely, and it just started raining as I got home. Fabulous, doesn't get much better than that. Towels obviously having another post-wash rather than a pre-wash. I did suggest to my wife that after they'd got soaking for the first time, that I might as well just put the rest of the towels outside in the garden and just let them wash naturally, which didn't go down too well. Apparently you need to use the washing machine. This has come out really nicely. I'm very pleased with this, using the circular saw. Beautiful. I've now gone ahead and put some bits of wood, blocks of wood on the back, because I've got some of this and it turned out to be thicker than the original, which I'm very pleased about because it'll be tougher and less likely to warp. But with these extra blocks on the back, it just lines up beautifully. Obviously it's going to be the other way up, but it'll leave a little gap, which will be fine because it'll look like an extra twiddly bit. Very pleased. Those are glued on. Obviously I haven't mitered them because they're not going to be seen. And I'm just using panel pins to hold them in place while the glue dries. Then I'm going to turn it over and then I'll cut 4 of these and miter them so it looks beautiful. Lovely. Needs must when the devil rides. What I'm going to do, I've decided the best way to do this is unscrew everything, then get some tracing paper and mark out all the holes, because I know all the holes are going to be in the same place. I've taken a photograph of it from above, so I've got reference, because here is the new super improved one. Shiny and stained, and it gives you an idea of just how rubbish the quality of this plywood is. You can see it. Look, I sanded it with the rotary sander, orbital sander, so get it all nice and smooth. Doesn't matter, you still get these strange blemishes. Hideous, but it'll be fine. And also along the edge, despite, as you know, that I was using the circular saw cutting downwards, cutting in the back, it still splits all along one end. Never again, live and learn. Very pleased with that. That will suffice, and that's certainly not going to warp or anything. There we are, tracing paper. I've punched a hole wherever there's a hole, and I've drawn round the shape of the ukulele's main part, because the new base is slightly bigger. So I just want to be able to arrange it so it looks nice, mainly based on the position of the ukulele, and then I can line up all the other bits and drill all the pilot holes. The sprockets have arrived on the 2.5mm pitch timing belt, which I didn't know I had. Let's have a look. As always, my brain is a muscle. Here are the new ones. Beautiful, sort of. There's an issue with them. Here's one of the old ones. I have just taken off that. This is 2mm pitch, 36 teeth. This is 2.5mm pitch, 36 teeth. Of course, the diameter is going to be bigger. In fact, having measured and thunked about it, I need to raise all these up a further 3mm. Well, who knew I was using 2.5mm pitch? I didn't for a start. And it's easier just to replace these sort of than having to redesign the little slots in the end of these for 2mm and replace those ones, blah blah blah. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make another little platform, a plinth if you will, for each of these 4 drive motors. There's the first plinth, the 5mm one that lifted these up. So they're all going to have another 3mm plinth. These ones don't come with any little grub screw holes or grub screws, let alone, I don't know why, heaven only knows. Also the hole is 6mm and the stepper motors are 5mm. What to do? Well, always one to like a little bit of an excuse for some machining, but also, luckily I've got this 6mm diameter OD, outside diameter brass rod, 5mm internal diameter, which is perfect. So I'm going to hammer 4 of them into 4 of them, glue them in, possibly not necessary, and then drill and tap some holes for grub screws, and then finally, hopefully, I just really want this to work. I don't want these to slip round, it's so frustrating. I want them to whiz backwards and forwards beautifully. I'm very pleased to say that things are finally actually happening. How fantastic! As you can see, I've got the larger pulleys on here, 36 at 2.5 pitch. I've got these, the things that I've raised slightly, the tensioning or lining pulleys. I've packed a couple of washers under there because it was all being a bit odd. I've packed out these to take them up again to allow for the 2.5 pitch, and let's see what it does. I'm not taking it too quick this time. I'm just going to see, I've just set it up to sort of find the origins. Nice and slow, nice and calm. Good. So when you first switch it on, they all go back to their micro switches and they click them. And then, hopefully, I've set it so they are now all group them together into the one group of stepper motors, which should all stop. It does. With the bearings over the very top, where are we? Very top fret. I'm so pleased with that. I can't tell you, because, as I say, I've had to go away and have 4 days away with the family rather than being able to get on with this. How dreadful. Anyway, I'm back now. The other thing that's happened, which is really, well, I don't know. You know, last time I mentioned that I'd finished making 40 net throb wells, which were stopping me from getting on with the lovely ukulele machine. Well, I got them done, and then suddenly, I mean, what is the dates? I don't know. It's near the end of October, and I've realised, well, let's have a look, shall we? here's the wonderful, very expensive inherited drawer with lovely runners. That's why it's expensive. Lovely engineering. And I've realised I've got one of the motorised gauge kits left. One! I seem to remember I made 12 not that long ago. And I've got 4 of the motorised ones. So I'm going to have a poor old, I suppose it's had 4 days rest, hasn't it, the 3D printer. But, follow my finger. Here, it's starting on another mammoth run of printing the things. As I've said before, the enclosure for the gauge, the motorised gauge, takes 5 hours 20 minutes to print. I feel an evening session hunched over a hot computer with a nice glass of wine, having to spend a long time ordering lots more stuff because that's nearly run out. The other thing, dear friends, look, suddenly realised as well, I sold the last one. I only made 6 originally of the reciprocating chronometers, and the last one went yesterday, and then I got another order for one this morning. It's crazy, it's so unpredictable. So I'm making, luckily I had a couple of sheets of the 10mm acrylic, so I'm cutting out 6 more of them on 2 sheets. That makes 12, if my mathematics serves me correctly. What we're talking about are these things. And these are actually for, because I wasn't going to sell them as a ready-made item, because people love making the kits, and it's a very different sort of kit to put together. These are the 4 that I'd made prototypes, gradually developing and evolving things and ideas. Hence the fact, as you can see, that one's got an extra gear sticking out the back. And I thought, rather than wasting them, I'd just get them together and get them working, which they have been doing. I don't know what to do with them, but I couldn't bear the thought of wasting. So that's what I'm doing now. I've started making them again, and 12 more of the kits. I've got When I'm Cleaning Windows transcribed, and I've got the array sorted out, and it's so exciting. I'll play out this video with When I'm Cleaning Windows as it is so far. Obviously there's more work to do with the software and bits and pieces, but I'm very pleased. Thanks again for watching.